Hey everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a comparison review of two super trainers that are now on the market, the Hoka Skyward X and the Adidas Adizero Prime Strung 2. Now, the reason for this comparison review is these are two fairly comparable super trainers. Now, they're both well above 40 millimeters of stack height throughout the length of the shoe. They got a lot of foam underfoot, similar weight, some similar specs, but there is some differences that I want to help you think about and realize. So if you're interested in these models, hopefully this review helps you pick which one might work better for you, again, if you're even interested. So let's start off with specs first. Both these come in, if you're talking about unisex sizing, although there is a women's versions of this, unisex sizing, men's size 9, women's 10.5, comes in at both 10.8 ounces, so very similar there. Stack height wise, the Skyward X comes in at 49 millimeters in the heel, 44 millimeters in the forefoot for a 5 millimeter drop. The Prime Strung 2 comes in at 50 millimeters in the heel, 43 in the forefoot for a 6.5 millimeter drop. So very, very similar overall. In terms of ride starting out, both of them have more super foams. Again, we're not exactly sure what Lightstrike Pro is, but it definitely moves faster. The Skyward X features a more central layer of P-backs throughout the length of the shoe with an EVA frame around the outside. The Prime Strung features multiple but full-length layers of Lightstrike Pro throughout the length of this shoe. The Skyward X has a carbon fiber plate. The Prime Strung 2 has a plate and rod, so multiple layers of this stuff. This shoe is very, very stiff. Both are very, very rocker. I will say this is also stiff, but it rolls so nicely. I almost didn't even notice the stiffness that much until I picked up the pace. So overall, ride-wise, the Skyward X is the softer of the two shoes. The second I put this on, I went, wow, this is definitely soft. This is a tall stack height. It's highly cushioned. So yes, clearly this is a really cushioned shoe that works really, really well for training. I have done a workout on this shoe now, and while it did fine, it's definitely not the fastest shoe. So if you want something for training miles, long runs, maybe a little up-tempo stuff, this shoe can do it. The Prime Strung 2 is kind of the faster of the two of these, where yes, it can do training miles, it's done fine. I have 100 miles on this shoe and it's done well for that, but it really shines doing up-tempo workouts, doing things like marathon pace, doing some up-tempo efforts, picking up the pace, doing faster long runs is where this shoe really shines, because the Lightstrike Pro, comparatively to the P-backs over here, is just a little bit firmer and the ride is a little bit snappier. Both of them have really nice rockered rides. The Skyward X has the smoother ride that works better being relaxed. The Prime Strung 2 has the kind of more snappy, slightly stiffer ride that took me a second to get used to, that really works better for faster running. So kind of different purposes here. Both them would be good options if you want the most cushioning possible for a marathon, but neither of them would I ever use for anything shorter than that. I think both of them, like Skyward X, would be more of that road ultra shoe. This would be more of something you might consider for a marathon if you want the most shoe possible. So that's the differences there. The fit is also pretty different in terms of the Prime Strung 2, the strung upper, has much higher volume fit. I really had to crank the laces down to get a secure fit here, but it also felt like I had plenty of width and there was a little bit of stretch to the upper. In classic Hoka fit, the toe box is a little tapered. The forefoot actually does widen, but the knit upper sits really low. So a much lower volume fit, although highly cushioned upper over in the Skyward X. So if you kind of have more normal to narrow width feet, the Skyward X is probably going to work better. If you have normal to wider feet or higher volume, meaning you got more size to your feet, and not just lengthwise, but kind of all around, the Prime Strung 2 is probably going to do better for you. Both of them have some interesting things going on where no heel counter over here. So if you're sensitive to heel counters, the Prime Strung 2 might be better. There is a heel counter over here, but there's so much cushioning back here that I haven't noticed yet, but that might bug you later on if you're sensitive to them. If you want a stiff heel counter, go with the Skyward X. So hopefully that answers your question on that. In terms of stability, which is something we always talk about, these could not be more different. So the Skyward X is definitely a stable neutral shoe. It's got a wide base, the midfoot is filled in, there's really tall sidewalls on both sides, very noticeable sidewalls, so people that are sensitive to those, be aware, but people who like those, these work really well. So very stable neutral, and the EVA frame that wraps around the P-backs helps stabilize this thing. It's not biased one way, very centered, very nice, really good job. The Prime Strung 2 is very different. There are some mild sidewalls in the forefoot. The forefoot is wider. This is wider than a lot of other shoes. Midfoot narrows a little bit. Heel's fairly good. What's really different is the posterior lateral heel bevel really makes this a laterally biased shoe. So people that need like a medial wedge or medial stability, this shoe works actually really, really well. So that's something you're going to land here. You kind of feel more material on the medial side, and it's going to feel like almost like that medial wedge. So if you have lateral motion excessively, this shoe is not going to work for you. So this is not a central shoe. This is more of a laterally biased shoe. If that's something you need, that kind of thing works really well for me. It doesn't always work well for every person. So again, different shoes, although similar functions, some similar specs here. The last thing is durability. I still got to give the Primex Strung 2 a shout out. I have over 100 miles on this pair, and there is no wear on the outsole. This thing is a tank. I have 20 miles in the Skyward X, and there is a tiny bit of abrasion, but for overall, this thing is also probably going to be a tank. I'm going to get full miles in this, and I'll try to get to 100 in this one as well, just to give you a full review. But so far, this one's doing well, but I might have to give the little edge here because there's like almost nowhere even after that time. So that's the comparison. Hopefully that helps you decide which one works better. Higher volume over with the Primex, little lower volume over here. The softer midsole, kind of more relaxed over in the Skyward X, a little more snappy, a little faster over in the Primex Strung 2. Just different in terms of stability, so stable, neutral, and laterally biased over here. If one of those things works better for you and those which you're interested, hopefully this review helps you. I also want to know if you have tried one of these or both. What do you think? Are you having similar experiences, different experiences? And if you've tried both, what do you think of the difference? So hopefully that helps. As always, we appreciate you taking time to review this, and hopefully, as always, this information helps you learn more about what might work best for you.